This morning, several people are hurt following an explosion at a cemetery where people were honoring the end of World War I. The explosion happened in Saudi Arabia this morning. Today marks the 102nd anniversary of the ending of World War I. We have more on this attack on our VNL News app. New this morning, state troopers say alcohol and speed were factors in a deadly crash in northern North Dakota. It happened yesterday morning around 1, just east of Botno. Troopers say 22-year-old Brooke Henry of Dunseith left the road, hit an approach, and rolled over in the ditch. A passing driver spotted the car in the ditch and called it in. Henry died at the scene. This week marks the 33rd anniversary since the disappearance of a vulnerable Wadena, Minnesota woman. Carla Beth Anderson was 23 at the time of her disappearance on November 13, 1987. She's listed on the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension cold case playing cards. The cards highlight 52 unsolved cases from the past 50 years. If you know anything about Carla Anderson, contact the Wadena Police Department or the Minnesota BCA. Veterans Day in the FM Metro is downsized this year because of COVID-19, but there are a few things still going on. The annual parade in downtown Fargo is a go, but there will be no ceremony afterwards at the Civic Center. The march starts at 10:30 this morning at 4th Avenue and 5th Street North. West Fargo is having a flag-raising ceremony at 10:45 at the VFW. The Fargo VFW is still hosting a meal at noon. AmVets in Fargo has a 11:45 meal. The Moorhead Legion has cookies and coffee, and the Dilworth VFW is doing takeout only, and that starts at 1 this afternoon. There are no activities at the Fargo American Legion. There's another serious problem facing our veterans, and it's one we don't talk about enough. The sacrifices these men and women make often leaves them with scars we can't see. The Valley Today's Brian Sherrod joins us live this morning with more on the alarming rates and how you can help your local veterans. Good morning, Brian.
And good morning, Lisa. The alarming term is right, especially when we're seeing a 20% higher increase with veterans than we did in 2019. And it's not just that that's increasing. We're also seeing the biggest increases with violence among them as well. This is because they're not able to get the help that they need because of the COVID-19 pandemic, because a lot of these places are closed. Also letting you know that this is coming from war zone deployments. It's also coming from civil unrest and natural disasters. Those are three of the biggest ones right there. And we did talk to a military veteran to let you know why the term 22 is so important.
22 veterans commit suicide every day or attempt suicide every day. And, you know, obviously I think the number is closer to 20 right now, but that's still way too high. And I'm so passionate about it because the person I slept next to in Iraq, he committed suicide right when we got back.
Now, Kuhn says they get $10 billion every year from the government to deal with veteran suicide. It feels the money should be better distributed to local churches, VFWs, AmVets, local communities, and American Legions. You can start by donating to your local VFWs or being a part of one of these groups to help. Now, Mission 22 provides relief programs for veterans and their families. This includes COVID-19 crisis resources. Now, when I went online, I can tell you that Vets Feeding Vets is fully operational, while distance counseling at this time is not. Now, these are only two. I do have tons more that can be added from that website. Also, you know, on the bottom of your screen, you can see the suicide prevention hotline. You can definitely call that number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're there to help.
Brian Sherrod reporting live for us this morning. Thank you. President Donald Trump will mark Veterans Day at Arlington National Cemetery today. The President and First Lady will lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. This is video from last year with the VP. Veterans Day honors the men and women who have served in the armed forces during both war and peacetime, as well as those currently serving in the military. Let's get a check now of our Veterans Day forecast. We check in with meteorologist Lisa Green. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning. Today we're going to want to bundle up for any events we're heading out to. If we're just heading out to the bus stop, heading into work here today, you're going to definitely want to make sure you've got ways to stay warm because in the morning hours, we're starting off in the teens and 20s. We'll eventually see our temperatures climb by noon into the mid-30s for Fargo and the southern end of the valley. And by this afternoon, hitting that 40-degree range. Again, this is for the southern end of the valley. If you're up north, it's going to be a little chillier. And we're also going to see that chance for some snow. We'll show you that in a moment. And the wind picks up as well heading into the day today. Not too strong right now as we're looking at our flags at the home of economy in Grand Forks. You can see there's a little bit of movement, but it's not too strong. Here's a look at our temperatures right now. We're at 19 degrees in Fargo, only 13 in Grand Forks. It's 23 in Fergus Falls, 16 in Bemidji, and in Devil's Lake. Devil's Lake has some clouds moving in. That's the start of that chance for some snow coming up later today. I mentioned light wind. It's only 6 miles per hour at the airport in Grand Forks, but look at the direction. The overall direction is out of the south, and that will help to bring us a little milder air for today compared to yesterday's highs in the 20s. So here's a look at your radar and satellite map. You can see some clouds on the increase. That will happen here today for a lot of us, and then that chance for a little bit of snow, especially in the northern half of the valley. And here's a look at our afternoon planner. It's a different story from north to south. If you're in the northern valley, we're looking at isolated shots of snow. So there'll be some breaks in between, but if you're driving through it, your visibility is going to dip, and you're going to see perhaps in some areas you could see our temperatures may not make it to freezing or maybe right around there. So there could be some slick spots on the roads for your afternoon and evening. Southern Valley, drier, and we'll see temperatures that are milder, some upper 30s to some mid 40s for today. Through the rest of the week, we take a step back in temperatures tomorrow once our snow departs, which could linger even into early tomorrow morning. And then for Friday, we're right back to the 40s, and we try to keep those 40s around for the weekend. We'll have to watch out for a couple of spotty areas of mixed precipitation, though, coming up this weekend. Should be light, but with the, those temperatures near freezing, even a little coating could cause some issues.
Right, it doesn't take much to cause some slick roads. Thank you, Lisa. The Back to the Building plan is on hold in West Fargo. Students were expected to return to full-time in-person learning by the end of this month, but that's been moved to the end of January. Elementary students are making a switch on November 30th to 4-day in-person learning weeks with Wednesdays at home. For middle schoolers, the district plans to bring 6th graders back the week of January 11th, then wait 2 weeks and monitor the COVID numbers. If there is not a large spike, 7th and 8th graders will be back full-time the week of January 25th. The district says with all students back in the classroom, they won't be able to ensure physical distancing. Fargo school leaders are going to spend nearly $2 million to install air and water cleaning equipment in their buildings. The school board last night approved buying the equipment using CARES Act dollars and other grant monies. The plan includes installing ionization units to clear the air and water filtration systems. Fargo Schools Superintendent Rupat Gandhi says the move shouldn't be perceived as mitigation against COVID-19. He says it's just a good strategy in providing clean air and water. There are new concerns for people living in North Dakota after Minnesota Governor Tim Walz ordered new COVID-19 restrictions. Starting Friday, Minnesota bars and restaurants can't have people inside after 10 p.m. When you add Grand Forks' 11 p.m. closing time to the mix, many are concerned about the traffic and potential COVID cases it may bring to Fargo. The city does not have a curfew in place right now or a time that bars and restaurants have to close. The people of Fargo say they will begin to see the impacts if something isn't done.
And I think it's going to be good and bad for Fargo. I mean, it might be good business and tourism, but at the same time, too, you just got to keep that in mind with the COVID and what our level just went up to.
Fargo Mayor Tim Mahoney says he is working with the city attorney's office to craft various options for consideration by the full city commission at its meeting next Monday. Until then, last call for Fargo businesses is up to them. Grand Forks health officials are working on the toughest mask mandate in the state, one that would be enforceable by law. State law says health officers can issue any order to stop the spread of an infectious disease, and anyone who violates that mandate could face a Class B misdemeanor, and that carries a maximum penalty of 30 days in jail or a $1,500 fine. The city attorney says her office would not seek the maximum. When it comes to enforcement, police say they'll back health and city leaders with discretion. The mandate proposal is in the process of being drafted and will soon be sent to the state and city attorney's offices for review. The search for a missing hunter in Becker County is over. Authorities say the body of 58-year-old Paul Sandstrom of Blaine, Minnesota, was located yesterday morning. He was reported missing Sunday by members of his hunting party. Foul play is not suspected. As COVID numbers continue to rise, more restrictions are on the way in North Dakota. Long-term care facilities are stopping all indoor visits because of community spread. Despite only making up a quarter of COVID cases statewide, People over the age of 60 make up 70% of all coronavirus hospitalizations and 90% of deaths. Health officials say it's not just the numbers that are stacked against the care facilities, it's also staffing needs. State officials say actions of community members have a direct impact on long-term care facilities.
At this point in time, with North Dakota's positivity rate, it is having a very negative impact on long-term care, and our families need to see residents, and residents need to see them, and we need to have some normalcy in that, especially with the holidays coming up.
Officials acknowledge the fluidity of the pandemic and the numbers and say things may change in a month. They say much of the visitation policy is based on a county's risk level and say that people need to wear masks to help bring down those case counts. Let's get our answer now to our question of the morning on Facebook. Here's today's question. According to a survey, 14% of us have never performed this simple task. The answer, written a letter. Emails and text messages do not count. Remember, you can play along every weekday morning by heading to our Valley News Live Facebook page. The Today Show and CBS This Morning are just about to start. But remember, the Valley Today rolls on. You can join us right now for more live up-to-the-minute news and weather on the Fargo CW.